So hello, my name's Rob. This is Cattle Rabbit Scale Model Studios, and today we're going to be doing some more bases. Now these are as basic as they come, basic bases if you will. Recently I painted up this Chaos Ogrin guy, did a really nice paint job on him, but I didn't want the base to detract from the paint job, so I just wanted to keep it simple. This video is going to show you how I've done that. These are every sense of the word basic. They serve a purpose, but they are great fun to do, and I actually really like the looks of them. They're very clean looking. They're what I like to call studio bases, and this is what you're going to need to make these. So the first thing you are going to need obviously is a base, something to put this method onto. It doesn't have to be a base, it could be anything. Here I've got this Traitor Commissar guy, which I've been painting up, and he's ready now to go on his base. First thing you're going to need is some PVA glue. This, once again, is really cheap. This has been in all my videos since I've had this channel so far, and I've got tons of it left. For £4.99, this goes a very long way. Next up, Woodland Scenics. Now this is from their, I think their railway kind of range. It's medium buff, but to me it's got a fantastic size grain that scales really well with 28mm miniatures. And then next up, some small stones. These I actually got from the beach, so they were free. You could probably grab some from your flower beds, pea pebbles, anything like that would do, and then some tufts. If you do want to add any other things like flocking, I'm gonna add some little skulls and things like that. I'll tell you when to do that in the video, but you can add as much as you want, but I try and keep it quite clean. So the first thing we need to do is cover our base in PVA. But what I've done here is I've just put a bit of blue tack on this base and put it in a little lid upside down just to collect any debris. It's just going to help me keep everything nice and clean, and any excess I can put back in the pot and not waste. A bag of this medium buff I've had for years. It lasts if you're doing things like bases, but the first step is really just to put some PVA on the base, really spread it out and make sure the whole thing is covered. Once we are completely covered like this, it's time to just get your bag of buff ballast. You know what this is called? It's scale model sand, I guess. But you can use anything. You don't have to use this. I just think this, once again, it scales really well, and it's quite easy to work with. Once it absorbs the PVA, it goes rock hard. Once I sprinkled it on, all I'm doing here is I'm just patting it down with my finger. Give it a couple of taps, shake the excess off. This is one of the other reasons why I like putting it on blue tack, and the base won't slide about everywhere and you don't have to hold it and things like that. Then all I do is, using the edge of my finger, I just wipe off any excess. If you do find that you wipe away a bit too much, don't worry. What you can do is collect the stuff back into your hand like I've done here, sprinkle it back on, re-pat it down, and job's a good one. The only thing you will need to do is leave this to dry. I actually left this one for a good couple of hours. Where my little studio is, the sun comes right through. After a couple of hours of sitting there, it was perfect. Next up is to just pick some stones you like. Here I'm having to be quite conscious of where I put things, because I don't want it to obstruct the miniature. I want it to sit fairly flat. So I'm just gonna keep some simple kind of small stones, maybe at the front and at the back. Once you find one that you like, this looks like a fantastic stone to me. Bit of super glue just onto one of the surfaces. I always try and do what's got the flattest side or the biggest contact point for stones, just purely because that way you know it's not going to go anywhere. Once it's on the base, that's the next section kind of done. If you are going to put on any little skulls or extra decorations and things like that, now's the time to do it. Here you can see I've added one from the Games Workshop skulls basing kit. Lovely kit, great for bases. And then I've primed it black. I would do this in any instance. Here I'm going to show you how I paint mine in a very dark grey, white kind of scheme. However, in the description below, I will leave some alternative colour scheme ideas below. But here I'm just using a makeup brush. This was £1 from Boots in the UK. And the first thing to do is to just overbrush, if you will, Eshin Grey all over the base. Overbrushing is like dry brushing, except don't wipe off all the paint from your brush. You want it slightly wet. And all that's going to do is just almost kind of give you like a sloppy finished coated paint job, if you will, which is really what we want. This step is optional, but I do like it. I'm going to come in with some Basilicanum grey contrast paint, and all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to paint this over all of the flat bit on the actual bases, as you can see here. This just helps kind of make the recesses darker, but once again, any alternative methods I will leave in the description below. Now that's done, the next step is really just a lot of dry brushing. For this we're going to use Mechanicus Standard Grey, Dawnstone, Celestra Grey, and lastly Administratum Grey. All from the Citadel range. Great paints to work with. And once again, it's just dry brushing. Once again, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove loads of excess paint off my brush until it's basically dry, and I'm just going to go over everything, the stone, the skull, everything. Followed by the same method with Dawnstone, and as you can see here, it's starting to get light. These are the colours I use. If you wanted to stop at any point, then do you know what? Do that. Celestra Grey, I don't know whether you can see here as well, on where I'm removing the excess palette, the brush on my, I guess, tissue palette. I'm kind of putting the brush over the paint that I've already used, just to help kind of blend it all in. And lastly, Administratum Grey, I just give this a bit of a tickle around the edges and on top of the rock, just to kind of bring out that detail. Once that's done, it's time to paint the skull. Here I'm just using a Ushabti bone. Once again, these are all Citadel colours. And then just on top, I'm going to do some Screaming Skull. This is just for the top, any raised bits, ridges, the ridge of the skull and things like that, just to kind of help it pop. Now that's done, tufts. If, like me, I tend to use the little round ones, I end up with these really funny shaped ones left that I hardly ever use. So what I've started doing is cutting them down and actually making tufts the size I want to use. So here you can see that I've just got a little pair of sharp scissors, so be careful with this. And I'm just going to cut one of those little kind of curly type shaped ones into 3. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to use these as my individual tufts. Same again, all I'm going to do here to attach them, I'm going to get a little bit of super glue, and I'm just going to put a couple little dots on the base where I want these to be. And then next up, all I'm going to do is get my little tuft and just firmly press it into the super glue next to where I want. You can see here, just really push it down. The nice thing about these is it's got PVA, it's got, you know, primer on, it's got paint. By this point, the basing material isn't going to be going anywhere, so you can kind of put it around a little bit and be a little bit hard with it. As you can see here, I'm going to put a couple at the back. Now, another little trick is just to add some height variation into your tufts. What I like to do is just trim some of them down. Maybe this one's not going to grow as much. Just adds a little bit of, just a bit of interest to not having the same kind of size tufts all the time, I guess. And once again, once I've got it down to where I want, just push it down. And that's really what we're left with. I'm now going to stick the miniature onto the base now, and yeah, just show you how it all turned out. So there we can see my guy's on. I think this just gives a really clean look. They are easy to do. I would recommend doing batches of them if you're going to use this for quite a few miniatures or a unit or a squad or a small little force. But I think they look great together. Once you get to the dry brushing stage, it goes really, really quickly. The hardest part is waiting for the PVA to dry. But I just think it gives a really clean, nice look. I'm a big fan, actually, of this kind of method. You could add some flocking to it, some different sized tufts, maybe some more, stones and things like that. But I think for what they do, making everything look nice and kind of clean, and they really put the focus on the miniature, not the base. That's all for this one. If you like this, obviously check out the description. I'll see you all next time. God bless and take care.